The Marlins head into Coors needing at least a series win, if not a sweep. Can the Marlins get their 2022 season back on track? We're going to dive into all of that and more on today's Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Marlins, your daily Marlins podcast with me, Peter Pratt, and welcome to the Monday edition. First, housekeeping, guys. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Miami_Marlins_UK. Don't forget that underscore. Not on Instagram, not on TikTok. No. Twitter only for me, of course. And as well, don't forget to subscribe to the pod or the YouTube channel. Yep, reminder, this is week 2 of the YouTube channel, and it's been a success thus far. All episodes have gone live. No major technical issues. I'm producing it all. I'm editing it all. So that's a positive. Welcome to the Monday edition of Locked On Marlins. And we are pre-game here in the UK. It's still sunny and I'm doing a podcast. What is going on? But we had to get in early because it's a UK-friendly Monday. Unheard of. The Marlins head and end their road trip in Denver. 3-game series with the Rockies. I'm delighted to welcome on Thomas Ritchie, main man behind Rockies UK. Tom, how are we doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Pete. Looking forward to the UK-friendly start times, particularly a rarity in Colorado. So, yeah, hopefully you're doing well and you're looking forward to it as well.
100%. I mean, you're right. The real treat for us collectively is this 2 of 3 UK-friendly in Colorado, which is absolutely unheard of. So, happy days. I'm assuming it must be a bank holiday of sorts in the US, and thus we effectively have a day game on a Monday. So wonderful for us. We're going to dive into all of the matchups very, very shortly as well. What's been going on with these Rockies? And as well, there's some news as well for the Marlins in terms of who's going to be starting game 2. So really looking forward to getting into this one. But reminder, guys, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. And Tom, let's kind of start with these Rockies. Just if you can, give us a brief summary of the 22 season thus far. Currently sitting in 5th place in the really tough NL West, but overall summary from the guys on the field this year.
I suppose it's been same old Rockies. We've been reasonably good at home and pretty tragic on the road. I mean, the season got off to a bit of a flyer as well. We've won some games on the road early in April, but May 9 and 17 in May is been a pretty dismal month. Kris Bryant, obviously the big offseason acquisition. We've not seen much of him. He's had a couple of stints on the IL. Antonio Senzatela's had a lengthy stint on the IL recently, 15 days or so, a couple of weeks. And Kyle Freeland got a knock at the weekend. I think the X-ray came back negative, so we're not sure how long he'll be out, if he'll even miss his next go around in the rotation. But yeah, when you have the depth or lack of that the Rockies have, these sorts of injuries are not things you can kind of cope with long term. And we've seen already that we've struggled to do that.
Yeah, your summary there sounds eerily similar to the Marlins season thus far in 22. Started pretty well in April, and then in May, of course, it's been real tough, and the Marlins have really struggled in May and have been even worse than the Rockies. So that kind of sums it up. They're trying to, I guess, finish on a high in May and then get into June and kind of do something as quick as they can. But yeah, it's not been good. Just as well, you mentioned him, Kris Bryant, the big offseason acquisition for the Rockies. It's been, just try and summarize kind of as a Rockies fan, your assessment of how they've managed this in the last couple of years. There's been a couple of puzzling kind of moves and decisions, it seems. I'm not totally clear on what the strategy is. Have you got any insight you can share with us?
I think, yes, you have to differentiate between the old front office that traded Nolan Arenado, run by Jeff Bridich, and the new front office that came in halfway through last season and decided to sign Kris Bryant. I think I think from the ownership, the idea has always been to have a superstar, spend the money, and try and win. Unfortunately, Jeff Bridich had his issues with Nolan Arenado that caused him to want away. And then Trevor Story, I think, again, the Rockies did try and make a play to keep him, but he'd been around under the previous regime and clearly seen that there were a lot of shortcomings. But, hopefully if we can get Kris Bryant healthy, maybe we can see some progress. He's here for a long time. So, we've got 2 or 3 years to try and build something now.
Yeah, for sure. And as well, the other thing I've seen from the Rockies and their approach has been to kind of lock down some of these starting pitchers. They've been handing out a lot of extensions. So pretty much all the top 3-4 guys in the rotation all extended as well. So I guess that's one of the strategies here. The key strategy is just kind of build around this pitching staff. Clearly, it's hard. You go and look at their overall ERA numbers, and it's always hard because you're playing half your games at home, and it always inflates them. But what was your take on that? I know Senzatela got an extension. I think Freeland did as well. German Marquez got one a few years back. So that seems to be the strategy. Happy with that one?
Yeah, when you get guys who have proved over 2 or 3 years that they can pitch well at Coors Field, you have to try and keep them. We've seen when you bring guys in who have started elsewhere, they do tend to struggle. So when you've got guys who've come through the system, always pitched at Coors, and proven they can do that, then I think you have to lock them down. Obviously, German Marquez has had his struggles this year, but over the last few years, I think his extension has been worthwhile. Kyle Freeland again, he's had his ups and downs this year, but I think he's proven that he can be a good starter for what he's getting paid. And Senzatela again, he's had a very good couple of years. He's had the injury this year, so we'll see how he bounces back as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Just in general, then, the overall optimism levels, maybe not just for this season, but kind of looking a little bit further ahead. Clearly it was a bit of a transition period for the Rockies the past few years as, some of the old stalwarts that were part of the kind of successful campaigns have moved on. So where's your head at now with the Rockies and what it looks like the next, 2, 3, 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it does depend on what this rotation can put together. If Marquez continues to fall off a cliff, then maybe the future doesn't look too bright because there's not too much pitching in the high levels of the minor league organization that could come in and be an elite starter with some way away from that. So I think it does depend on what this rotation do. You have to have confidence that at Marquez's age he's not over the hill and completely cooked, that he can bounce back from what's it by far the roughest stretch of his career, I'd say. I think if you've got this, the 4 guys who are, reasonably long term with Austin Gomber as well. Chad Kuhl's obviously on a 1-year deal, but if you got those 4 guys, then you look at the lineup. You have got guys who are not too far away. Ezekiel Tovar is probably the long term shortstop future. He tore it up in spring training. He's been tearing up the minors. When you've got Kris Bryant, you've got Rymack at third. CJ Cron's going to be here for a couple of years, and then the outfield again. Obviously, you've got Kris Bryant there. The other 2 spots, long term, are probably slightly up in the air. We've got our 2 big prospects. The last 2 years, we've drafted outfielders, so whether they'll come through quickly enough for this kind of current team, we'll wait and see. But yeah, we're it depends on the pitching rotation, basically.
Again, sounds very similar to the Marlins. I mean, listen, Marlins are building their team around the pitching and the depth, etc. And if the pitching is on, they have a chance, and things look optimistic. If the pitching doesn't pan out as you expect or hope, then things don't look as great very quickly. So it's funny, the teams sound like they've had similar 22s. The strategy more generally has been the same. Obviously, the Marlins locked up Sandy Alcantara, their main ace, to an extension. Pablo Lopez, 2 years of ARB remaining. Interesting to see what they do with him. Do they look to lock him up? Trevor Rogers, obviously, still on league minimum, which is great. And then, we're then into what does Max Meyer look like? What does Edward Cabrera look like the next year or two? And are they major league level pitchers? So some really interesting questions coming up there for the Marlins too. I want to really dig into the pitching matchups for this series very, very shortly. Before we do that, reminder, this episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens. And I've been using Athletic Greens mainly because they sent me a batch for the last 4 weeks, I would say. And I started taking AG1 mainly because I was feeling fatigued. I needed more energy. It's tough. This baseball season as a UK fan is tough. I was looking for more energy. So what is it? What do you get? Basically, you take 1 scoop, put it in water, shake it all about. It looks green. It's 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. Special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. Perfect for me. All the things. So, how am I feeling? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pumped. I'm feeling real good. I wish the Marlins were better, but nevertheless, I'm feeling energetic. I think it feels like it's working to me. So, here's the action. Here's the call to action. Athletic Greens are going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/MLB network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Whew. Those Athletic Greens sound sensational. They are sensational. They are very green. They definitely do what they say on the tin, no doubt. Tom, let's get into these pitching matchups then, because I looked to today, the UK friendly, the Marlins have Pablo Lopez going, which for us, and just more generally, this is a must-win series for the Fish. It truly is. And I think if this series ends in defeat or a sweep, God forbid, I'm pretty much full-blown white flag up for this year in 22 for the Marlins. In early June, I think it's going to be cooked at that point. But Pablo Lopez going against Feltner. So he's only had 2 starts. I don't know a lot about him. He's sitting at 0-1 record with a 5.40 ERA. What's the scouting report on him? What should we expect? I guess he's only had 4 starts in total at the major league level. So what's the report on him?
Yeah, he is kind of the Rockies' top pitching prospect, I suppose, at the moment. Peter Lambert aside, who's had his injury troubles. He's probably in the kind of typical Rockies starting mold. He's not throwing the hundreds and lighting people up. He's further down the chain than that. But he made his first start of the season back in April, which was a bit of a rough one. But then 5 days ago, he came back in, obviously, with Senzatela on the IL, and he 5 innings. I think he only gave up 2 earned runs. So reasonably positive signs there for a guy kind of making his way into the major league. So hopefully he's got the chance now to build on that, and he's not making 1 start and going back down. Yeah. So hopefully he can get some sort of consistency and stick around.
Do you see him sticking around? I mean, more generally after this series, is that the plan? Do you think with this guy, bring him up, the top pitching prospect or one of, try to avoid the kind of spot start approach of, hey, bring him up, face the Marlins, head back down? Is this more like, listen, let's lock him in until maybe some of the other guys return? Or, it's tough, right? Because the Marlins are in a bit of a similar spot too, where they're starting to get some guys hurt. And it's hard to make the right call development-wise, particularly with your main starters, whilst obviously trying to keep the major league level competitive because they still feel in it. So what do you see the kind of midterm plan with this dude in 22?
I imagine if the Rockies' 5 starters are all healthy, he'll be kind of back down in the minor leagues. I think that's better than keeping him in as a long reliever. Make him getting consistent AAA starts is probably better for his development than that. But, I think he's going to still have plenty of opportunities this season. If Senzatela could be back this week, but then Kyle Freeland may miss a start, so he could get an opportunity there to stick around. And then, you always need more than 5 starters in a season. So I would imagine he's going to make plenty of appearances now. If he pitches well, you've got to keep him on. You can't get rid of guys pitching well, really. If he's pitching better than someone else, then you've got to make the tough call and do what's best to win games.
No doubt about it. Let's flick into game 2 because, I mean, listen, Pablo Lopez in game 1, this is a perfect, matchup really for the Marlins in many ways because Pablo's been sensational. Obviously, let's classify Feltner as a rookie, which in reality he is based on the number of innings and starts he's had at the major league level. So perfect matchup. The Marlins will be looking at this thinking this is a must-win game 1. It absolutely is. Game 2, I think, gets very interesting because the start time isn't optimal, 1:40 a.m. for us in the UK. So probably won't be watching this one live, particularly on a Tuesday. Nevertheless, German Marquez goes for the Rockies. It's been a little bit of a struggle for him this year at 1-5, 6.30 ERA, and even the home road splits don't look great either. I think it's actually even worse on the road, actually, Marquez this year. But the Marlins, this is where the storyline gets intriguing. Tuesday, it's at the moment down as TBD. However, all reports indicate that Edward Cabrera is being promoted from AAA to make his first start of 2022. It's one of the Marlins' top pitching prospects. Looking back to 21, he had 7 starts, gave up 17 earned runs in that, 0-3 record with a 5.81 ERA. So, it was a hyped start, a hyped promotion back in 21. And if we're totally honest, it wasn't amazing. The control, the command just wasn't there. It was just too many walks, I think, from Eddie Cabrera. But I think this, in some ways, is the matchup of the series, actually, just because Marquez is kind of scuttling a bit, looking to get back. Edward Cabrera coming up. The Marlins, they really need him to perform. What's beyond the numbers, though, Tom? What are you seeing from Marquez right now?
He's just not pitching well. He's not hitting his spots. He's not got the command. He's not missing bats like he normally does. And he's a big strikeout guy, and he's just giving up a lot of contact at the moment. There's a few theories flying about why is he relying less on certain pitches, relying too much on others. But I think he's just not pitched well. I think he started the season with an incredible start against the Dodgers, and then since then, he's been the Rockies' worst starter, which for him is not what you expect. And
no,
I don't know what the answer is, but hopefully there's something. He'll just click and he'll find his way back to pitching how we know he can.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Again, it's another funny similarity to the Marlins this year. How you described German Marquez is how I would describe Trevor Rogers this year. It's been exactly the same. It just hasn't looked the same. And the main thing that's bothering me particularly is just he's not missing bats. He's not getting the whiffs that he was last year. It just looks different. I don't know what's changed, but something has. And so it's interesting that you're seeing that with Marquez. The Marlins are definitely seeing that with Rodgers this year. Not quite sure what's up. And, that kind of takes us into Wednesday, the Wednesday game. Also UK friendly, so 10 past 8 our time. So, wow, it's perfect for us on a Wednesday. Hopefully the sun's out, heading into a bank holiday, and it's a bumper bank holiday weekend for us in the UK. Thursday and Friday bank holidays for the Queen's Jubilee. So that should be sensational, no doubt. And they get it off hot with a Marlins Rockies game. TBD for both right now. Looking at the numbers, I would expect Trevor Rogers to be in line to make that start. We're just talking about him. If we look at it from a Rockies perspective, any ideas who might be the starter there for game 3?
I'm thinking it could be the return of Antonio Senzatela. I think he pitched 4 innings for Albuquerque a couple of days ago.
Okay.
In AAA. So I think he's getting ready for his return, and I think that matches up well with Wednesday. I assume they'll be just waiting to make sure he comes through everything okay before confirming it. But I would expect Senzatela probably to make his comeback from the IL in that game.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, that'd be good news for the Rockies. Clearly, looking at his numbers in general, the thing that stands out to me is WHIP is really high, 189 WHIP on the season for Senzatela. So, yeah, that's probably a concern. There's a little bit maybe too many base runners getting on against him, which is creating some drama. And I guess when we flip it over to the hitting side, we haven't spent a lot of time talking about the hitters, but I think we should. one of the things that stood out to me when I was digging into the Rockies numbers was the lack of stolen bases knocking around. Like there seems to be a lack of speed on the base pass for those guys. There's like maybe a team leader with maybe 2 attempts or something. It's definitely not part of their strategy. They're looking for bombs and maybe that's it. I don't know. But just from an offensive side, clearly the standout though, Tom, CJ Cron. Oh my days, he is having a sensational year, particularly at Coors. It is like, otherworldly from him in Coors.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it last year as well. Really, after he did have a rough start last year, but once he clicked, he's been magnificent for us. He's been our best offensive player. He got off to an incredibly hot start. Hitting dingers. Pardon the pun with the mascot, but he's been sensational. Is probably the word you'd use. He's doing everything for this offense. Really. Just need a couple of other guys to keep up with him. Brendan Rodgers has had a really encouraging month, so hopefully he can continue that into June. And then we need Kris Bryant back as well. That's out fielding work in the last couple of days. But we need him back hitting.
Yeah, no doubt. I think, getting Kris Bryant healthy back in the lineup, it's a big, big boost for the Rockies, clearly. And the other guy that's really stood out to me when you kind of dig into it is, Charlie Blackmon looks to be having a nice year. Not so much at home, like it isn't, so much in Coors. He's not getting the Coors bump, but Blackmon looks to be putting together a real nice start of the season. Has anything changed for him, or just, back to the old Charlie Blackmon?
Yeah, I think he seems to have recovered a bit of the power that he didn't hit many home runs last year. He seems to have started to find that a bit more this year. Sorry, back in the leadoff spot as well, which he didn't do much at all last year. So maybe it's just the comfort of leading off, and that's where he's hit pretty much all of his career. So how these things work. Just that little bit of comfort, and maybe that's allowing him to find his stride again now.
Yeah, I thought the same, actually. I mean, Blackmon is just one of them. Just kind of lock him in the leadoff spot. Just kind of, put him up there. It's all good. Leave him to it. And maybe the Rockies overthought that one a little bit last year and, moving him out. But yeah, putting him back in that spot. No surprise. He's back feeling comfortable. He knows, first pitch, he's going to be there, in the box. So yeah, maybe mentally gets him right too. For those that don't follow the Rockies that closely, that includes myself, who are the under the radar guys? Who's kind of, from maybe an offensive perspective that is performing well, or that you've got hopes, aspirations for this season that maybe isn't as big a name as some of the other guys we've touched on?
I suppose Brendan Rodgers, I mean, he's been touted as a big prospect, but he's not hit the star level, and he had an absolutely disastrous April, hitting below 100. But
oh boy.
In May, he's been hitting 344. So if he continues that sort of form, or close to that sort of form for the next few months, then the Rockies hopefully will start to build a dangerous offense. I suppose the other guy is Jonathan Dowser, his playing time has been limited. He's been coming off the bench at times, but he's with Kris Bryant injured, he's made a couple of starts recently, and he's a high contact hitter. He's not necessarily blasting the ball out of the park, but he's been getting on pace at a really good lick this year, which is good to see. And he's a really good defender as well, which you need in Coors Field with that massive outfield. So yeah, he's been a pleasant surprise to start this year.
Yeah, I also remember, just thinking back to last year, you mentioned the word dinger, and that kind of takes us back to a real interesting storyline from last year. Obviously, Lewis Brinson incident that wasn't an incident, because in reality it was just a guy shouting the mascot called Dinger, but it did sound like something else. But nevertheless, that series, I think, was the last time we played the Rockies. It was in August. And I remember CJ Cron was going bananas, but also Connor Joe was kind of flashing in that series too. First time I'd really seen Connor Joe play at all. Has he been getting much playing time this year in 22?
Yeah, he's been a big part. He's been I'll just go do a quick check on his numbers, but he's been doing well. What's he hitting 272 this year? So he's a little bit below what he was doing last year. But he is putting together a nice year. I think the DH has helped get him more playing time.
Yeah.
Because you've got that extra hitter. He's not having to ride the bench at times. Because you've got Charlie Blackmon penciled in. And you would have had Kris Bryant penciled in at left field. And we signed traded for Randall Grichuk as well. So his playing time would have been maybe limited, in a normal year. But I think the DH has really helped him and Dowser as well. Those guys, it's creating an extra spot for those guys to get playing time. Yeah. And he's putting together a reasonably nice year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it sounds like, the overall summary I'm getting here is the Rockies hitters, they started slow in April and they've actually come around a bit in May. And, that's not that encouraging for the Fish. Sounds like they dealt with a couple of issues on the pitch inside, but again, starting to get healthier again. So again, the more encouragement there for the Rockies. What about the closing situation? Because I must say one of the Achilles heels this year for the Marlins has been closing games. I don't believe that's the case for the Rockies. I think they've actually managed to find themselves someone that looks reliable there in the ninth.
Yeah, Daniel Bard he's looked a lot better than he did last year. I think his first year with the Rockies, he was very good. Last year he had a bit of a down year, but this year he's looked a lot closer. Him and Tyler Kinley and Alex Colomé have probably been the three guys in the bullpen that have stood out. I mean, Tyler Kinley's been a 4.65 ERA plus. He's been kind of ridiculous this year. He's barely given up anything. But yeah, those three guys in the bullpen have been kind of holding things together, because beyond those three, it's pretty disastrous, to say the least. So that's why you need the starters to be going 6+. If they're only getting through 4 innings, there's
trouble.
Not too much to come.
Very, very. That is a very cricket term you've just used there, I believe, and our US listeners probably missed that one. But as the UK guys are listening, will know exactly where you're coming there. Not that much to come after the top 4. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. It sounds, I mean, that definitely that scouting report is not unfamiliar to many teams you kind of talk to. Really, the starters, if they can go 5, 6, 7, avoid the kind of the low leverage pen arms, and then actually the back end of the pen looks to be okay. And I guess that's what the Rockies are looking for. From a Marlins perspective, it's a really intriguing series. Pablo Lopez, what can he do? Edward Cabrera's first start at 22. What can he do? Trevor Rogers, it hasn't been good, like I said. What can he do? There's a lot of question marks around this. The offensive side is starting to kind of loosely warm up. Jorge Soler's kind of come alive against the Braves, which was nice to see. Garrett Cooper's actually had a real nice series too. But and Jazz Chisholm just back after kind of a week or so not playing. Joey Wendell just back as well. So the offense is starting to get some guys back. So it should be a really intriguing series. The clubs actually are mirroring each other. It's a Spider-Man gift situation right now, in my opinion. And we know the Rockies are sensational at home. And last time the Marlins were in town, they got spanked. And so we are not looking for any repeats of that one. But I think it's a fun one. It's a fun UK one. 2 of 3 in UK friendlies. So we'll look forward to that. That's going to wrap us up today for Locked On Marlins. Tom, for those that aren't watching, because they won't be able to see the graphics, but let everyone know where they can get you on Twitter if they want to engage during this series or any other in the future.
Yeah, it's just at Rockies_UK. Quite simple. That's where you'll find me.
_UK. Never forget the underscore, guys, of course. Any TikToks or Instagrams?
No, definitely not. Leave that to more interesting people. No one wants to watch me pretend to care about the Rockies that much on TikTok.
It's a step too far, right?
Leave that to Dave.
There you go. Exactly.
TikTok man.
Exactly. Leave it to the guys that are maybe for the right demographic. I don't know, but anyway, that is us done and dusted. Monday's episode of Locked On Marlins. Me, Peter Pratt, and also Rockies UK, Tom Ritchie, helping to preview this one. We're looking for a big series from these Fish. Need to get this season back on track, and let's sit back, enjoy UK friendly Monday. Back on Tuesday, guest TBC. but likely we will be digging deep into Edward Cabrera and what we should expect from him.